Why people ignore red flags in relationships? Sometimes the red flags were there from the beginning. The inconsistency, the emotional distance, the disrespect hidden behind the jokes, the way your intuition kept whispering, something doesn't feel right, but you ignored it. Not because you are blind, but because you wanted the relationship to work. And honestly, that's what makes red flags dangerous. They rarely look serious in the beginning. They usually look small, explainable, temporary, until one day you realize the things you ignored early become exact things that broke you later. You focus on who they could be. One reason people ignore red flags, it's because they become emotionally attached to potential. You see glimpses of goodness in someone, moments where they are caring, affectionate, sweet, vulnerable, and your heart starts building hope around those moments. So even when inconsistency appears, you tell yourself, maybe they are just stressed. Maybe things will improve. Maybe they are healing from something. And slowly, you start falling in love with who they might become. Instead of honestly accepting who they are already. That's why many people stay in emotionally draining relationships too long. They keep waiting for consistency to finally match the potential they saw in the beginning. You don't want to start over. Another painful reason people ignore red flags is fear. Fear of loneliness. Fear of starting over. Fear that maybe you will not find love again. So even when something hurts you repeatedly, part of you keeps thinking, maybe this is just how relationships are. You become emotionally attached to the history, the memories, the effort you already invested. And because leaving feels painful, you start normalizing things that slowly damage your peace. Sometimes people stay in unhealthy relationships not because they are happy, but because they are afraid of the emptiness that might come after leaving. You keep excusing things that hurt you. One of the saddest things that happens in a relationship is when you slowly stop trusting your own feelings. Something hurts you, but instead of acknowledging it fully, you minimize it. You say, it's not that serious. Maybe I am overthinking. Nobody is perfect. And little by little, your standard starts shrinking emotionally. You begin tolerating behavior that younger you would have never accepted. Maybe communication disappears. Maybe affection becomes inconsistent. Maybe respect only appears during good moments. But because there are still occasional loving moments, you hold on to those moments tightly. And this is where many people get trapped emotionally. They confuse temporary affection with genuine emotional safety. Sometimes you see the red flags clearly, but the hope is louder. The truth is, many people are not completely unaware of the flag. Deep down, they feel them. Your intuition notices patterns very clearly. The inconsistency, the emotional unavailability, the lack of accountability, the way effort disappears once you become attached. But the hope can be powerful. Hope makes people stay longer than they should, because every small improvement feels like proof that things are finally changing. One good week makes you forget months of emotional exhaustion. One affectionate moment makes you question your own pain again. And over time, you become emotionally exhausted, trying to hold on to a version of the relationship that rarely lasts consistently. The lesson many people learn too late. One painful lesson many people learn late is this: red flags do not usually disappear because you love harder. Love alone cannot fix repeated patterns, and ignoring emotional pain does not make it smaller. It usually grows quietly until you no longer recognize yourself emotionally. Healthy relationships are not perfect, but they should feel emotionally safe overall. You should not constantly feel anxious, confused, emotionally drained, or afraid of express your needs. And one of the most important things you can learn in relationships is to stop betraying your own intuition just to keep love alive. If you keep ignoring red flags, eventually your heart pays the price for what your intuition already knew. So, listen to yourself earlier, pay attention to repeated patterns, and stop convincing yourself to tolerate things that quietly destroy your peace. Because real life or real love should not require you to constantly ignore your own emotional pain.